Welcome to the Boss Woman Network podcast, a space dedicated to amplifying the voices, journeys, and power of women entrepreneurs across industry. As we prepare to transition to our new brand, CEOS, in January 2026, we are honored to continue spotlighting the bold, brilliant, and resilient women shaping business through creativity, authenticity, and leadership. And today's guest is Melina Dio, a podcast strategist, coach, and founder of Vibe and Voice Media. With over 4 years of experience, she helps women entrepreneurs use their voice to grow visibility, attract aligned clients, build sustainable, burnout free businesses. Melina is also the host of a top ranked podcast and the founder of the Women's Guesting Circle, a community empowering women podcasters and guest experts. So let's dive into her inspiring story of alignment, purpose, and power of visibility. So, welcome, Melina. How are you today?
Wonderful. How are you, Leilani? Thank you
I
so
am
much for having
great.
me.
I'm so happy to have you. So, let's go ahead and get. Can you introduce yourself? Tell us more about your professional journey into podcast strategy and coaching.
Sure, yes. So I'm Melina and I came into the space. I'm actually went to school for fashion design and so it's far from fashion design, but this is where I am today. I got into the podcasting space due to the pandemic. I was laid off. I had small kids at home and I was just wondering what was next for me. And how I first stepped into it was actually through my husband. He had a podcast for work, and from there, I realized how powerful this medium actually is. And editing quickly turned into working with women for using their podcasts as a visibility tool and a way to connect with people and grow their business and without burning out. And now I support podcasters and help them build confidence, connection, and systems and align their podcasts with their business. And I'm excited to get into that more of the journey for women for using their voice and yeah, leading with their voice.
I love that. What inspired you to start the Vibe and Voice Media? Is that the same thing? How did that
Yes. So I when I started, I was just using the name of my own name with Creative Solutions. And so I wanted something that really connected a little bit more to voice. And so I really liked the idea of vibe with the
Hmm.
voice. And so I thought that sounded really great. And so I've now that I'm stepping into the coaching and strategy role, it felt like it matched my energy a lot more.
So, what does it look like for one of your clients? They're reaching out to you and they want to work with you. What does that process look like?
Yeah, so that can look different for a couple of people, but one of my core methods is the 12 episode method. I love it because it brings so much structure and strategy to a scattered place that the podcasting world can feel when you step into it. Like, what kind of episodes should I have? Should I have a co-host? Should I be alone? Should I do interviews? There's so much there, and I just love to use it as a base if you're launching or relaunching your podcast because it helps you to know what you're doing next and helps you systemize everything from the 12 episode method. So we start out as defining your podcast goal and why you're podcasting. And then we align your podcast to your offers. And after that, we create 12 intentional episodes that take your listeners from who are you to how can I work with them? And so
Hmm.
there's many steps in between there, but it's just a really powerful way, especially for women, to just be able to own their voice and go ahead and use that as a structure to and a base to have when they are podcasting. And it just helps them not be scattered and keep it all uh, the pressure is kind of not as high as before because they just have a plug and play system instead of being all over the place.
Hmm. Do you guide them on like the editing process, the the scripting, and is it from A to Z, or is just basically guiding them whether they should do it by themselves or have a
Yeah, it depends on how much support they need or want from me. Some of my clients come to me, they know exactly what they want to do, and they just need a workflow system and maybe a repurposing system,
Mm,
or someone who is coming from scratch and they have no idea what they want to do. So, yes, I do help them produce the whole show, script, outline, um, create their launch plan and their visibility plan when they do go out to launch. So I help with everything in between with the podcast. Yeah, the full service.
that's pretty cool. So if somebody just have an idea, but they haven't really put together an outline of how they even want to present themselves on the podcast, or even, I guess, who's the target audience.
Hmm.
You
Yes.
help them figure all of that out. Like, I just want to start a podcast. I don't know what I want to do, but I feel like I need to start talking in front of the camera. Have you had
Mhm.
anyone like that?
Yes, definitely. That's definitely part of finding their podcast goal and why they want a podcast. Then we go into who is their target audience? Who are they speaking to? And I always ask them, what would they need to hear from you before they're actually ready to work with you, right? And when you ask that question, you get so much out of that. And that can really become your core for your podcast to build
Hmm.
upon.
Hmm.
Mhm.
A lot of us podcasters struggle with being more authentic because you don't
Mhm.
want to give too much, but people, you want to be relatable as well, but you still don't want to give too much about yourself. But people buy into you before they buy into your offers.
Mhm.
What are your strategies for that? Like, how do you advise
Yes.
someone on that one?
Yeah, sure. I love that question about authenticity. I mean, I feel like this has been going around for a while, really talking about the core of people and how they, your personal brand, right? And your authenticity. How do you bring that into your content, whatever you do? Um, and how I help my clients do that is through storytelling. And so I have a few different storytelling frameworks that I like to help them work through. Usually, the transformation, the transformation story arc works really well, especially for coaches or service providers who have
Mm,
podcasts. So we use that one a lot. But yeah.
that's definitely a pretty, I like that.
Mhm.
Storytelling, tell them a story about yourself and as you
Right.
started in your process and the reason why you decided to do a podcast and then what
Mhm.
you're offering later.
Right.
Um, you said that you've been in business for 4 years now. What has been the most rewarding parts about helping women grow their podcast?
Yeah, I just love when they are so happy and excited. And I remember this one coach reached out to me after I told her that her podcast had hit uh, the charts and that it was in the top 10% globally. She
Whoa.
actually said she was crying. She messaged
Wow.
me. She said, I am so thankful that I hired you. You really helped me to blossom in this space. She said, this was one of my goals and I didn't know if it was going to happen. So hearing that really inspires me to keep on doing this. And also just the confidence that women have when they have this space of a podcast. I mean, you could think of a podcast as like just content, Um, but it really can be such a great place for a woman to expand herself because I feel like podcasts can give you momentum that you didn't expect could happen through this medium. And that's why I really enjoy it and helping women in this space.
I love that. Um, you said family, especially your kids, are your biggest inspiration. How have they influenced the way you built your business?
Yeah. I mean, one, I love the flexibility of actually being able to work from home and just being able to be there for them when they come home and the little stories that they have to tell me, right? I think that's the the biggest joy of being a parent is actually being able to be there for those little moments. And yeah, they and I love just showing them that I if I'm practicing for maybe a summit or for an interview or something that I'm going to do, I do it with intention, and I love that they can see me doing that.
That's cool. You say you speak at summits?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
So has the podcasting, doing your own podcasting helped you become, or were you always a confident speaker?
Yeah, actually, funny enough, starting out my own journey of being helping people start podcasts, I was just behind the scenes. Like I didn't even want to be on social media. I had no desire for it. And a lot of people in the same space as me, podcast managers, they had their own podcast show. And I was like, I'm never going to do that. I could never see myself in that space. And after working with all the clients that I've worked with, I realized that why am I not using this powerful tool for my own business and for myself? And so having my own podcast has given me a lot of confidence and I am starting to do things that I never thought I would do. Yeah, so
Is it
it's
because
really
are you like
inspiring.
an introvert where you kind of was behind the scenes?
Yeah, yeah.
Same. Same.
I'm I'm like a mixture. I can be introverted, but I think I just always felt like, oh, I don't have anything really to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely get that. Um, you've mentioned unlearning the hustle culture and redefining success. What helped you balance as both a entrepreneur and a mother?
Yeah, I believe that just myself, the way I work is I've seen or I've worked with different coaches myself, and I've seen how rapidly they might get into something or do something. And I just had to be okay with my own comfortability and be okay with my pace because that's what
Mhm.
I can do. And trying to use their systems and their processes for me didn't work. And that's why I say I had to come away from, a little bit of hustle culture
Mhm.
because I had to do it at my own pace. And yes, it might be slower, but I still feel like I have had a lot of momentum even through going my own pace. And I want to also inspire people that I work with to do things their own way. I don't want to say that my systems and my processes are the best. It's what works for you.
Mm. That's kind of what my next question was like, because many women, they kind of struggle with visibility blocks and burnout and things like that from overdoing it.
Mhm.
Like, what advice would you give them to show up consistently without losing energy or happiness or joy?
Yeah, I would say that take breaks and actually that is a big part of how
Yeah.
I kind of run my own podcast. I run in seasons, so I don't run continuously. I do a certain maybe 3 months or 12 weeks, and then I take a break. So I feel like built-in breaks really helps you to give yourself time to
Hmm.
maybe work on that different project. Maybe you have a launch coming up and you're also podcasting at the same time. Okay, it's on your schedule. You know it's on your schedule, but then you also know when your break is. And I think that really helps your mind be ready to, go, 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 and then be able to know that you have that little time off or that break, that brain break that you need.
Hmm. So, when you say you do 12 weeks, how much of a break in between before you start? I mean, not 12 weeks, 12 episodes before you start on the next 12?
Yeah, so actually I just did it for myself. So I launched in May and then I stopped at the end of June. Um no, the maybe the second week of July, I think, around. I'm not quite sure. Sorry about
Mhm.
that. But then I did restart in August and I did a mini series in between. So that's getting me through some of fall. And then I hope to get back to my podcast. I am starting to work on my second season currently and hoping to have it out by November.
Hmm. So basically, you tape all of your podcasts at one time,
Hmm.
like, and then you just start releasing them weekly or monthly?
Yes, I do weekly.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Hmm. I've noticed that some people just go and go. There's no breaks in between.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like me, I just go and constant taping, taping. Sometimes I just like, I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna take a month off. So I
Hmm.
won't schedule any podcast episodes.
Right.
But then
That's good.
once that month is over, I'm just scheduling them. And I just keep going. There's no 12, it's just going and going and going. Because it looks, I could be wrong, but from a lot of the podcasts I see, look like they just keep going. They could have a system in place where they do the 12 and then the 12 and the 12, but it just looks like they're just constantly going.
Yeah, I've seen so many different takes on seasons. Um, some people think, I mean, I'm not going to say what they might think, but I've seen so many people maybe start out with 4 episodes a month, then they go to five, maybe then they go to two a week. Um, that's something that may work for some people because they have a certain amount of support.
Right, right.
So that's why that could work for them.
Mm,
And then for some of my clients, the season-based approach has worked really well for them and they have not lost their listeners with that happening. With their breaks, they've continued to keep those listeners because we are continuously updating them when they will be coming up back
wow.
or be doing seasons in between as well. And sorry, you had asked.
Yeah, that's pretty less. I'm sure that's very less stressful.
Yeah.
Having
And I
those
was
breaks like that.
thinking for your approach, yeah, if you could maybe say to yourself, I'm going to do this amount of interviews, then maybe then you start trickling in just a few less, maybe
Mm,
doing three a month, another month you do three, and then that would help you take a little bit of a break and then roll out and do, you know, batch a bunch more and then maybe
mm.
do that again. So there's
Actually,
yeah.
I may have like five, let me see. I may do like 4 interviews a week,
Mhm.
and then I edit them all, and they'll be scheduled out all the way
Yep.
through a few months because
Yeah.
I do them once a month, and,
Right.
and then I'll take a break once I have like a couple months, and then in that month, when I'm almost coming to an end on those other ones, I'll go ahead and start scheduling so it won't look like to the audience I've taken a break,
Right.
but I'll know that I've taken a break, but I'll start back doing 5 again a week, 4 or
Yeah.
5 a week, and then schedule those all out for a couple months, but that may be overworking it. So I'm gonna have to take a look at what I'm doing
Right.
because I might have to
Right.
slow down some.
Right. Yeah, you have to, know your bandwidth, right? And understand what is working for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or just try maybe try to do a few less and see if that contributes or helps.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna try that. Are you
Mhm.
using like automation systems to kind of help things go a little bit smoother?
Currently right now, I mean, it's pretty bare bones. We're not doing too much automation. It's if my clients are able to add those in, then that's not a problem. We can do that. But pretty much it's the podcast planning Notion board that I really love using, and then I love Riverside
Oh yeah.
and Riverside because then you can also grab all your clips and everything from it. So that's something I tell all my clients to have. And then, of course, their hosting site. And then if they're doing YouTube as well, then, you
Yeah,
know,
I'm definitely thinking about switching to Riverside. I've been hearing a lot about it and the quality is much better, is what I'm hearing.
yeah,
So
I use it myself. I really enjoy Riverside.
yeah, I may switch within the next year.
Mhm.
I may switch to Riverside. So are your guest podcasts, are they mainly on Spotify like Audible or are they video and audio?
A lot of my clients currently just are doing audio
Okay.
because when when they start working with me, I don't do video for my clients. That's
Okay.
something that I learned the hard way. I tried to do it all and I realized my capacity and
Right.
video just wasn't in it for me
Mhm.
to do for my clients. But
Yep.
they are able to if they're able to find their video editor outside of me, then that is fine and I can work with them on doing that. But yeah, the visibility idea, I think moving forward for my clients is build up audio for now. And then
Mm,
when they're able to take on doing YouTube, step into that. And I do have clients that do have a YouTube, but that is separate from the work that I do with them.
got it. Okay. Okay. So tell me about your podcast and how do your listeners feel? How do you want your listeners to feel after each episode?
Yeah, I love that question. That's such a great question because I think it's always about your listeners. I mean, of course, coming from the podcast background, we want to put out content that we enjoy too, but it's really about them and what their needs are. So, my podcast is about how to actually grow your podcast. It's for a lot of the people who started their podcast maybe in 2020, right? And
Oh,
and they haven't seen growth or they're stuck. So it's for any podcaster who feels stuck um, and wants to get to the next step. Usually that might be monetization for some people. That might be actually getting leads from their podcast. That might be building their email list from their podcast. It depends on their business goal, right?
mhm.
Um, and so I walk them through what I've worked with clients and what I've done with them. And I just put out a series that I really am proud of. I talked to a podcast guesting expert. I had an SEO expert on there. And then I had one of my clients on one of the episodes as well. And then I wrapped it up with a fall strategy plan that people can use before the end of the year so that they can see some of that growth that they've been wondering, where is it? Right.
Mm,
And so that is the basis of my podcast. But I am coming out with season two, and that will be all about launching your podcast with growth in mind, right? Because I think a lot of people launch a podcast and they're just like, I don't know what I'm doing with this. This is just content, they're not thinking outside of just content. that it can actually read their whole entire visibility system for their business
Yeah.
and ecosystem. I mean, I'm sure you've seen the power of your podcast and what it can do
Yes.
for you, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Um, do you also guide them on like what is it that I'm trying to say? Getting the sponsors and the and what is that? Influencers or I'm trying to think of the name of it because I don't have that yet and I need it. Where you add the companies on in your descriptions where people can like purchase there and you
Mhm.
get receive like certain points or
Right,
percentages from
right.
that.
Yeah, for affiliates and
Yes, that's
yes,
it was
yes,
right.
right.
It was like I know the word.
Right, right.
Yeah, affiliate marketing.
Yes, yes. I help them with finding sponsorships and affiliates. Yeah, and a lot of people have misconceptions about, oh, I need 1,000 downloads per episode before I can look for sponsorships. Actually, that's a big misconception. You could start now. It just depends on what kind of value you're giving and how you're going to position your podcast to them. And it could be a surprise from who will, agree to have a sponsorship spot with you or an affiliate link with you. So that is possible.
That is something to know for the viewers.
Hmm.
People that are thinking about starting a podcast already have one like me.
Hmm.
I've been having this podcast for over a year now. And I'm just at the point to where I'm more confident and pretty confident in it to where I can start reaching out to sponsors. I have
Awesome.
quite a few business people that I interview that are giving out great business tips like yourself um, to the audience. That would be great. I'm always talking about like different companies or services that I use that I could be
Hmm.
reaching out to them because I'm
Right.
marketing and advertising their business
Hmm.
without any residuals. So most definitely, I'm finally at that place where I'm
Yeah.
confident enough to where I can start reaching out as well. But I probably, like you said, could have started long ago. I just wasn't confident enough to
Hmm.
do it.
Oh, definitely. Yes. Yeah.
Um, for those who are wanting to work with you, what does your one-on-one strategy session or membership program include?
Yeah, so like I said, I have a few different ways to work with me. I have my one-to-one strategy. We can either do a strategy session or we could do a one-off strategy call. It depends on what you're needing and you're coming to me for. The best way to find out where I could place you into something is having a call with me. If you book a call with me, then we can really go in deep and I can tell you what you might be needing. You might even need a podcast audit. And then from there, we could take your podcast and find what might need some tweaks, what might need some help, what's actually really working for you, and so on. So, yeah, that's the best way to work with me. And if you're just curious or your podcast is just stuck, go and listen to my podcast to Grow. That's really a great place to start. So you could see if my 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 systems and strategies are something that interests you. Yeah.
Okay. Tell us before we get out of here, I got maybe two more questions for you. Um, the Women's Guesting Circle.
Yeah.
Can you share what that community offers?
Yeah, sure. I actually have just launched that in August. After I started my podcast and before I started a podcast, because
Mm.
people knew me in the podcasting space, they would usually come to me and say, "Hey, do you have any aligned people that I could guest on their podcast?" And then it dawned on me, and I was like, "Oh, why don't I just start something for women to gather?" And we can do this. And so, what it is a monthly list of podcast hosts and podcast guests. And Then we also have chemistry parties where we can get together and actually match up those hosts and guests. And, so they can meet and see if this is a good fit. Because I think a lot of people go on podcasts and maybe they don't quite feel like it was a good fit, or why did they go on that show, or why did I have that guest on? And so it's kind of a way to bring a community to women and have this safe space for us to gather and, even do collaborations or review swaps, whatever it might be. But I really am enjoying that space right now and nurturing the women in there. And it's been really great. We had our first chemistry party last month, and we're going to have one next week as well. So they after we had the first one, they were so excited. They said, "Let's do this monthly." And I said, "Okay, let's do it."
Wow, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Are you, is it virtual or is it
It
just
is. It
local?
is. Yes. Yes.
Oh gosh. So what do members need to do to join and how can they find it?
Yeah, sure. If you want, I could give you the link to the Google form. So just fill out the Google form and then you're in and
Yes,
you can
send it
join
on.
us. Yeah.
I would definitely be interested in that. Um,
Um,
Women's guesting circle, because hey, we are always looking for great guests to get on our show and to connect with
right.
other like-minded women. So
Definitely.
I
Yeah.
love that. That's so cool because I have never heard of that. I'm sure there may be some out there, but I haven't heard of anybody
hmm
doing that. So that's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
I think a lot of things are like you hear about a lot of podcast matching systems and it just feels so bro. It just feels so manly. So I just really wanted to create a space for women.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
hmm
So before we close out, what's one message you'd like to leave with every woman listening today about your voice, about her voice, her confidence, and her purpose?
Yeah, I would just love to leave with believe in your voice. Your voice is a very strong tool or instrument. It carries so much weight, and your voice should be heard. And go out there. And if you're interested in podcasting, the best way to start is go out and start guesting and use that power that you have within you and share that. Yeah.
Thank you. Um, so guys, Melina's journey is a powerful reminder that visibility is more than just strategy. It's about healing, reclaiming power, and creating a space for your voice to be heard. Her dedication to helping women grow sustainably and authentically embodies what the Boss Women Network podcast stands for: purpose, alignment, and empowerment. And as Boss Women Network transitions into CEOS in January, we're proud to highlight women like Melina, who lead with intention, balance, and with bold creativity. So stay tuned for the full interview on the Boss Women Network podcast. Of course, you can find it on YouTube or Spotify or any of those outlets out there where we continue to celebrate women who are using their voices to transform the world, one story at a time. So, again, thank you, Melina, for joining me today. And
Thank
I
you
hope
so
you have a
much.
rest of your day.
It was so wonderful to be here and share with your audience. Thank you so much for sharing them with me.
Thank you. And don't forget to send me the link because I'm definitely
Yes.
interested in joining the group of the guesting circle.
Yes, I think it's a great space. So yeah, excited about
Oh,
it.
did you give out your Instagram? How they can find you?
Oh, sorry, you can find me at Vibe and Voice Media on Instagram, or I'm also on LinkedIn under my name, Melina Dio. So you can also find me there.
All right, you heard it. You can find her on Instagram and LinkedIn. All right, guys, until next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.